Have you ever wanted to take a trip back to a time that was much simpler? Well, then you might be in the market for a first generation Toyota RAV4. That's right, behind me today we have a 2000 Toyota RAV4 with 350,000 miles on it. There is nothing like one of these on the market today. It is truly a time capsule, and we are going to decide if it's a buy or if it's a bust. Starting out with our walk around, these things are small. Looks wise, I have no idea whether they're good or bad looking. They are so old at this point, it's just a different time. But these are so much smaller than the newer Toyota RAV4s. But honestly, this thing has held up remarkably well. They do have some rust issues. You got to look underneath of them, but nothing that crazy. And even being in the Northeast, this one is pretty clean all around. The paint shines well. There's a little bit of clear coat peeling on the hood, but I truly was just astonished at how well this thing has held up for 26 years and 350,000 miles. Under the hood of the RAV4, you can hear how ridiculously quiet this engine is for 350,000 miles. It's absolutely nuts how smooth and just quiet this engine is. This engine is a 2-liter 4-cylinder under here that makes 127 horsepower and 132 pound-feet of torque. Now, this part of the video is probably going to be fairly short because there's not really that much to talk about on them, as they are a pretty reliable engine, but I will mention a few things. This engine is a timing belt 4-cylinder rather than a timing chain. They actually switched it later and turned them into a timing chain engine, but this is a timing belt. That means they need serviced right around 100,000 miles and the timing belt replaced. This one should have been replaced several times on this by now. So if you're looking at a used one of these, you want to make sure that is done. It is a more expensive repair, though this is a fairly simple engine to take care of that on. Now, as far as actual defects, other than being the ugliest engine bay I think I have ever seen, we're going to talk about a few things that you can look out for, even though they are pretty reliable. One is that when you start them up, there can be some noise in the valve train of the engine. This is caused by people who didn't change the oil often enough, or, didn't use great quality oil or let it run a little low. It can cause some excessive wear on the engine. So if you listen and you hear a little bit of ticking noises, that's usually up in the top of the engine in the valve train. The other one is if you have some idle, some misses, stuff like that. A lot of the components on this engine are actually vacuum and mechanically actuated. So you'll have some issues with some of those components. Not a huge deal. It can be replaced easy, but they are a lot of rubber hoses and things that can wear out at this age. The last thing, and this is going to be across all manufacturers of a car this age, is just oil leaks. Your gaskets, rubber, all of it, it's drying out. It's going to cause some oil leaks. There's nothing too crazy. There's nothing I would even tell you exactly what to look out for other than just get underneath of it and look and make sure that it's not leaking a ton of oil. This engine is mated to a 4-speed automatic transmission, kind of the same as the engine. Not a lot of issues, pretty reliable. If you're test driving one, make sure it shifts through all the gears good. Change the fluid every once in a while in them, and you're pretty much good to go. Moving on to the interior of this time capsule of a car that we're reviewing today. This is one of the most fun and / comical interiors I've been in. Rode in this, and I mean, my arm basically touches the passenger seat while I'm driving. Now, there is small cars out there today. This, for some reason, just feels almost smaller. I can't really even talk about interior quality because it's so old. It's held up fairly well. You can see that the fabric has left from the door panels, kind of all things that I would expect. I'm not going to hold any of that against this car. It does look a little nasty, but what do you expect? As far as problems, nothing is terribly common to say except for Every single piece of this car could probably fall apart at any time because it's so old and so many miles. But there's nothing that I'm really telling you guys that to look out for or that's going to be a big issue. You could have a check engine light on. This actually has no lights or anything like that on it. There's nothing luxury here. Cup holders, they did put cup holders in, but they're terrible and they're behind you, and I think you would knock over absolutely every drink you ever put in there. But hey, it's got power windows, right? In the back seat of the RAV4 here, this is not a road trip car. That is my first thought as I sat down here. It feels like I am sitting on a child's seat at a daycare. I'm not sure why I came up with that example, but that's what it feels like. So I don't even think you could put a car seat back here unless it's frontward facing. That being said, I think this would be just a blast if I was 16, 17, 18 years old to cruise around in one of these with my friends. I mean, it's like kind of an off-roadish type vehicle. And I think this would be a blast. We could roll one of these down into a ditch somewhere and it would be just the best day ever. There is no features other than you can reach the cup holders that I mentioned from here. So that's kind of a 2-for-1 special as far as cup holder features. My head doesn't hit the ceiling. My knees technically don't hit the seat in front of me, though I'm 5'9", so anyone taller in front of me absolutely would. And it's a place to sit. Welcome to the rear hatch of the Toyota RAV4. This is actually one of the coolest rear hatches I've ever seen. I did not know until this video, until today, that this is how these doors open. It takes the whole hatch out of your way, gives you a super low floor if you actually wanted to like put anything here. It's flat, like right out to where your legs are. If you want to sit down, it gives you a bench. It's actually larger back here than I thought. This might be one of the coolest parts about the RAV4. Honestly, I've not seen any other cars that have their hatch door open quite the way this does. Starting our test drive today in the first gen RAV4. It is rare that I come across a car that I've never driven and kind of never even thought about. But honestly, I was 8 years old when this car, like when they switched generations. So wasn't really in the driving market too much. And it's so much different than the second generation of the RAV4, which I am familiar with. It is just wild. There's only a few cars that were ever made that were kind of like this off-road, semi-off-road focused, utilitarian, tiny SUV. We are fighting some traffic here on our test drive, so I will talk about the brakes as we're coming to a stop here. Brakes actually feel really good for a car of this age. I wouldn't want to like have to stop to avoid an accident, but they work enough to stop you for McDonald's or something like that. All right, now we got a little space to do a pull. 127 horsepower, here we come. Okay. I didn't make fun of the horsepower numbers when I was doing the review under the hood because I was like, this car is so small, maybe the 127 horsepower is enough. I can now tell you with just absolute confidence, just a ridiculous amount of confidence that it needs more power. It is slow. I expected it to be slow. It might be slower than I expected. That being said, we just went over some bumps. It rides a little rough too. And this does have some new struts and things like that, as you would expect of a car of this age and miles. You're gonna run into pretty much all the suspension has been replaced at this point. Now, with that lack of power comes fuel economy that I actually was kind of impressed by. They're rated like 20, 21, somewhere around there. And this has one of the coolest features I've seen of cars of this generation. I don't know of any other car offhand that has this, and that is it has sport mode. Normal for economy, and then power right there. And I don't think that probably does a whole lot, but the button is there. It's done through the transmission, so it probably changes how it shifts a little bit. There's a button. As far as actually out here on the highway cruising at 60 miles an hour, it's pretty good. It's a little twitchy just because it's such a small vehicle, but it actually feels remarkably good. I would say that's one of the highlights is just kind of cruising down the road. It feels nice. Now this particular one is all-wheel drive, and one of the things we want to talk about that with is differential. The differentials on these need serviced somewhat regularly. That's one of the failure points on these. I don't know if they're a whole lot more common than other cars, but it is one of the ones that I saw most commonly people have issues with. Overall, obviously, I don't think anybody is really picking one of these up as their daily driver. There is better daily drivers out there for sure. But for what it is and reliability, I kind of like it. It's kind of fun. It's kind of like, you know, my old S10 Blazer. It's kind of, you know, they had the Geo Tracker, the Suzuki Samurai back in the day, and it is a unique, quirky vehicle. It's not for everybody, but I would love to cruise around in one of these in the summer with the windows down. With that, I think it's time to head back and make a decision on this old RAV4. Back from our test drive, and now it is time to decide if this is a buy or if it's a bust. I don't think it's going to be a huge surprise, my answer on this one, but I do want to talk about it a little bit. These run $1,000 to $3,000. I think you could even find a really low mileage one. It's probably going to be expensive. It's probably going to be $5,000 or $7,000 because there's almost none of these left anymore. Everybody has moved on, but not because really of reliability. Obviously, this has 350,000 miles on it. Though there is small SUVs on the market today, there is nothing that really would fit into the category of what this Toyota RAV4 is. I think it's a pretty cool little car. No, you're not taking a bunch of people with you. No, it's not refined, and modern cars are probably a little bit more enjoyable to drive on a day-to-day. But I can't ignore just how cool and fun this thing is. That's why today I'm going to call this a buy. It was an easy decision. It's got a ton of miles, but who cares? Yes, you have to watch out for those timing belts, replace them, but they are simple to work on. Parts aren't that expensive, and they're just a cool little runaround vehicle. If you guys have one of these, let me know your thoughts down below. I overall was just really impressed with this thing. I like it. It's fun. I would love to have one of these at the beach and run it around. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. This is the ugliest engine bay I have ever seen. I need a pee too. All right, here we go. This engine is a 4-cylinder 2-liter that makes 100. What did I just say? 2-liter 4-cylinder sounds better. All right. This engine is a 2. Okay, now I'm all messed up. It's your fault. That one's your fault now. Okay. This engine is a 2-cylinder.
Massive pistons. I mean, just two massive friggin' V-twin pistons. Where is the bumper?
It's on it. There is no bumper. I guess it's inside there. Yeah, there is none. All right. Welcome to the rear hatch of the this is a 4Runner.
Toyota RAV4.
Yep. Yes, it is. I'm going to go on the other side, I think, because it's so small. And just do a little bit have I done too many arms wide open things recently?